Hey, it's Squidly. About 4 years ago, I switched from synthetic sleeping bags to down sleeping bags. And when I did it, I tried to do it kind of on a budget, and I stumbled across the Hyke Byke Eolus line of sleeping bags. At the time, I purchased two of them. One that was 15 degrees, which is really 30 degrees comfort, and the other one was 0 degrees, which is really 15 degrees comfort. So after 4 years of use, I want to give you my impression of their durability and their function. Before we get started, I just want to say I'm wearing my new hat from 12 Stones Adventures. Thanks, Billy. So when I purchased these two sleeping bags, the idea was I was going to sleep under them like they're a quilt, but I really at the time was not interested in having a quilt. In fact, I'm still not. And the reason why is because I'm a side sleeper and I just like the idea of having the full coverage of a sleeping bag, even though I don't get in it and zip it up like a sleeping bag. So I've dealt with this on my channel before, that I always had used synthetic sleeping bags and just kind of wanted to shake it up a little bit and experiment with using down. But because I live in such a wet environment, in my mind, I was really sort of experimenting with it without a lot of confidence that this was going to go particularly well. I just wasn't sure it was going to work out for me. And so for that reason, I didn't want to drop a lot of money on it. So I found a budget line of sleeping bags, and it was the Hyke Byke Eolus line. I did not intend to get two sleeping bags. When I got the 15 degree, 30 degree comfort, I intended for that to be the one sleeping bag that I was going to get. And I only realized after I had ordered it and it came in and I'd used it a couple of times, hey, this doesn't keep me really as warm as I thought it would, and looked on the website and it was my mistake, not Hyke Byke's. So for that reason, I ended up getting a second sleeping bag that would take me down a little bit cooler temperatures, because a lot of what I do is in colder temperatures in winter. Yeah, it's winter in the deep south, but it's still winter. And we do get cold weather, just not like what you would have in Wisconsin or somewhere like that. So anyway, that's how I ended up with two of them, and I really don't have any regrets about that. I'm kind of glad that I do have both of them. I also ordered them in two different color schemes so that just at a glance I know which sleeping bag I'm getting and I don't make any mistakes on what I grab on the way out the door. So for the purpose of this video, I really do not want to go into all the statistics and the particulars about each one of the sleeping bags. You can go online and you can find all of that out. I think I remember it being 800 fill. These are quality bags, but at a more budget price. And we'll get to the price sort of at the end. In preparation for this video, I inspected the bags and went over everywhere where it's stitched, looking for imperfections, looking for places where it's coming apart, where there's damage, where there are maybe holes or tears, and frankly, I have found none. Every once in a while, now this is full disclosure, every once in a while I do see a little, when I'm in my tent, I see a flying feather, one little piece of down that goes flying off. Obviously it came from somewhere, but I can't find anywhere where I have actual holes in it where it's losing down. And also, it's not losing enough to be any consequence for how well it's going to insulate and keep you warm. So the bottom line is, in 4 years, I have found no defects, either from the manufacturer or from things that I've done to it, which I think really says something about the durability. So not only is it coming from the manufacturer, well put together and durable, but even after 4 years of use, stop just short of saying abuse, but using it for 4 years, I haven't found any defects in it that I would look at and say, yeah, well, it's kind of taking a beating. It's really not. So this blue and I guess lime green one, this is the 15 degree or really 30 degree comfort. And this is the one that I've used more than the other one. This is the one that more than likely is going to go with me. And I've only had a couple of nights where I was uncomfortably cool. I'm not going to say cold. It's not like I was down to shivering, but I was a little bit too cool. And as with most things like that, it was a self-inflicted wound. I had this sleeping bag on, there was one trip where I had, I think I was out for either 3 or 4 nights, and I knew that one of those nights was going to get below the comfort rating for this one, but I thought, well, but I don't want to have the heavier one because it's going to be uncomfortably warm on the other nights. And so all these things are kind of a trade-off. And so on that one night, I was a little bit too cool to say that I was comfortable. And so on that night, I basically had on all my clothes, I had on my puffy jacket and the sleeping bag, and was okay. I'm not, again, not super comfortable. I was a little bit cool most of the night, which most of the time is okay, but a little bit too cool on that particular night. But that was not a fault of the sleeping bag, it was a fault of the person using the sleeping bag. All right, the orange and black one, this is the one that is a 0 degree, really 15 degree comfort. And I took this on a trip where just the opposite of the blue and the green one. This went on one particular trip where this was going to be perfect for most of the nights, but I think I had one night where it was going to be a little bit warmer, and I thought, well, this one might be a little bit too much for that particular night, but I will need it for the other nights. And sure enough, I woke up in the middle of the night just pouring sweat and had to get out from under it and sort of ventilate a little bit and cool off, but not too uncomfortable. And again, it's one of those things where I can't take 2 sleeping bags depending on the temperature for that particular night. And just like the blue and green one, occasionally I'll see a stray feather go flying, but for the most part, I see no damage on this. And I have used both of them extensively and just can't find any damage to them. They have been durable given the amount I've used them and the way that I've used them. You know, how many nights and kind of what my system is for using them and everything they come into contact with. I just really did not think that they would go this long with absolutely no damage. Now, because of the difference in how much I've used them, again, I've used the blue and the green one much more than I've used the black and the orange one. And because of that, the blue and the green one is a little bit quicker to lose its loft now. And so what I'll do is before I use it next time, I'll probably throw it in the dryer on very low heat and let it tumble for a few minutes. And when it comes out, it's as fluffy as it was when it was brand new. And so I have had to do that, but I haven't washed either one of them yet. And I'm happy to note that they don't just reek. And I'll add that that's one complaint I saw about the Hyke Byke sleeping bags is sometimes they come from the manufacturer with a funky smell. And I didn't experience that at all. Not only have they not had a funky smell coming from the manufacturer, but they don't really have a funky smell now, even though I've been using them for 4 years. Maybe it's an indication I haven't used them enough. I'm not going to get into specific weights, but I'll go with kind of what my memory serves. These are going to be close. The one that's a 30 degree comfort, that blue one, is about 2.5 pounds, and the black one, the one that's for colder temperatures, about a 15 degree comfort, I remember it being just over 3 pounds. So could you find something that is lighter? Yeah, of course you can. But keep in mind, these are budget options. And when you get a budget option, usually you're going to have to give up on something. You're going to either give up on a little bit of durability or weight, but in exchange, you're getting it at more of a budget price. You can order these sleeping bags in 2 different ways. You can go to the Hyke Byke website, or you can get them on Amazon. And here's what I've discovered. If you go to the Hyke Byke website, you're going to pay a little bit more, which doesn't make sense to me. If you go to the Amazon site, like right now, I'm going to put down here screenshots of what I found on Amazon, and the prices are pretty significantly lower. The one that's the 15 degree comfort is in the $130 something range, and the one that is the 30 degree comfort is in the $120 something range. And for a durable, high quality down product, that is a steal. So now that I'm no longer afraid of using down, even in the wet environment where I live and backpack, the question that I ask myself is, if I could go back in time with what I know now, would I pull the trigger on something more expensive, or would I stick with the Hyke Byke line? And honestly, I think I would still stick with the Hyke Byke Eolus line of sleeping bags, which answers the question, is it possible to spend a couple of $100s to lose a handful of ounces? Yeah, you could do it. But the question you have to ask yourself is that worth it? Typically, I steer clear of recommending or not recommending a piece of gear, because honestly, you really just have to do your own research. You have to figure out for yourself, what is the piece of gear that's right for me? And there are all kinds of variables that go into that. And so for me, these have been extraordinarily good pieces of gear for my circumstances and for what they are and what I need. I've had other backpackers ask me about these and say, okay, would I recommend them to them? And one-on-one, the answer has been yes. I totally would recommend the Hyke Byke Eolus line of sleeping bags if it meets your needs, but I'm not the one who can decide whether it meets your needs. But do I think these are a quality piece of gear and a durable piece of gear? Absolutely. In the description, I'll put a link to the Hyke Byke website, and I'll also put a link to the Amazon page where I found these and at those extraordinarily good prices. And in the comments, tell me what you think about this Hyke Byke line and whether you think that it's a quality piece of gear or something that you would not ever consider. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.